Hi, this video blog is going to be about what I feel has been the hardest thing that I've had to deal with in my situation as a burn survivor. The main thing, which is just how it's changed my outward appearance. Which may sound really, really shallow, but that's not what I'm getting at. What I mean is, every single day, looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking, wow, like, ooh. So, I'm guessing, I haven't talked to very many burn survivors that are my age, female, because I feel like not necessarily like it's just a female thing, but I think it's really hard for a lot of young female burn survivors to deal with. It's one of the biggest things that I've had to deal with. And I just want to start by maybe, starting when I was in the hospital and moving on. But whenever I first got to the hospital, the morning after I got to the hospital, I was there by myself, and I think all my family had left. They had went downstairs or something, but I was laying there in the bed, and I remember being kind of awake, I guess, and there was a mirror with a sink and everything right beside me. I'm not sure if I was in the burn unit or where I was, but I remember sitting up and not being able to open my left eye, and I was like, what is this? And so I sat up and looked, and there was a mirror, and I was looking at myself in the mirror, and my face was just, it was way out here. It was huge. And I was just like, oh my God. And I just slammed my head back down on the bed, and I never looked at myself again after that in the hospital. And then once I got out of the hospital, about, I think it was 2 months, around 2 months, I still hadn't looked at myself since. They would try to give me a mirror or whatever, and I guess trying to get me to look at myself, accepting myself or whatever, and I wouldn't do it. I probably threw the mirror at them, because that's just how it was when I was in the hospital. But once I got out, I went to stay with my aunt, and there was this mirror in her kitchen, and I was hobbling around the house one day, and I just happened to catch a glimpse of myself in this little mirror, and I looked, and I was like, oh my God, ugh, don't ever do that again. And at this point, the swelling on my face had went down, but my eye was still pulled way down here, because I had gotten burned basically down the middle on this side of my face, and all the way down my neck, all the way down here. And it was it had this one scar that had run from my face, this whole part of my cheek, down my neck, and all the way down to right here, where it was stuck right here. And I couldn't move my head, and it was pulling on my face, pulling on my eye. And I thought, this is it. My face is never gonna look even close to normal again. And eventually my face got a little better. I did some exercises and some physical therapy stuff that helped me move my head, because I couldn't move it, and started really leaning over and like massaging my neck and trying to break the scar band that had formed right here. And eventually I did. And even now, I mean, if I pull my head really far over, it still pulls on my eye a little bit, but you can't really tell as much. But that was the first time after the hospital that I actually looked at myself and was like, okay, I guess this is what I got. And I was still in a lot of pain, so I didn't really mind as far as how I looked at that point. I mean, I cared, but that's not what I was really all that worried about at the time. So a little while passed, did a lot of physical therapy, got to a point where I could walk a little bit without having to like lay down. And my aunt took me to Walmart. And I just remember being so hot because it was still like August, September. It was still really hot outside. Since I live in the South, it was just ridiculous. And she took me to Walmart, and we got out of the car, and we had to get a wheelchair because there was no way I could walk around Walmart at that point. And I still had my ACE bandages at this point, wrapped all around my arms, my legs, and I was wearing shorts because I couldn't really pull pants over my ACE bandages. And so I was being wheeled through Walmart because it was my choice and I wanted to go. And I just remember people just like, what is she doing? What happened? And you could tell that I'd been burned. I mean, my whole chest and face were like blood red. They were all scaly. And that was like my first real, like, wow, this is how people are going to look at me from now on. And it scared me. I mean, I've never had people look at me like that before. The worst I ever thought about people looking at me was when I went out of the house without makeup. Like, it was terrible. So, after that, I stayed in the house for a while. My aunt had bought me some clothes, and because I had lost like 30 pounds. I weighed like 95 pounds when I got out of the hospital. I was like sickly skinny. And even though they had filled me up with steroids, but it didn't matter. She bought me a whole bunch of clothes, and I had put them on, and I was still wearing ACE bandages, but I could pull on like leggings over them. So I did that, and me and my boyfriend, who was still with me, I don't know why, we went to the movies. And that was my first night that I put on makeup, got ready, did my hair, which was a whole nother thing because half my hair got burnt off. And we went to the movies, and we saw Despicable Me, and we had a really good time. And it was so nice to sort of feel like I was going back to like a regular life. And then after that is when they told me that I was ready to wear pressure garments. And after I was, ready to wear them, like they said I was ready to wear them, I went up to UNC, to the occupational therapy place, and they fitted me for them, and I ended up getting one for my chest, which comes up right around here. And it's black. I chose it because I could wear it under anything and nobody would really notice. Well, not as much as you would, like having burn scars. That's all I was worried about, was just covering it up. You could have given it to me and told me that it would have done anything for my scar or for my actual burns themselves, and I would have still wore it just to cover it up. The same with my leg garments, arm garments, everything. And after that, it really got easy for me to hide. Um, it got really easy for me to just put clothes on over it, although I had to choose them very wisely, but I could put certain clothes on over it, and then people wouldn't even really notice that I was burned, unless, after I stopped wearing my hand thing, then you can obviously see that my hand is burned. But when people look at you in the face, they don't really look at your hand. So that was probably the best and worst thing, because I think if I would have never gotten the garments, then I wouldn't be quite as embarrassed, because I wouldn't have anything to cover them up and I would have to show them. And I would have had to since the very beginning. But I'm sure that they've helped me medically. But, I mean, I think if I didn't have them, it would have been a little bit easier. But hiding your burns, especially if you're a new burn survivor, is not the way to go. I mean, obviously, you wear your garments because that's what your doctor tells you to do, and they do help. I'm sure they do. I don't really have anything to compare it to myself because I didn't not wear them. So, but if there's a point when your doctor says, look, you don't have to wear these anymore, or, you don't need them in this place or that place, and you're just wearing them to hide, just take them off and wear them. Like, wear your normal clothes without them. Because the longer you go hiding, the harder it is to stop hiding. Take it from somebody who is going through that right now. Because up until now, I still wear them. And I know it's really bad because I'm saying all this stuff about not wearing them, but I do. But I am trying actively to stop wearing them and to walk around and not care if somebody doesn't like it, or if somebody is like, ugh, they don't understand, and who cares? I mean, don't worry about that. And that's what I'm trying to do. And it is hard, but I think that if you get used to it right off the bat, it won't be quite as hard to break the habit later. So, yeah. For the longest time after my accident, and this has been really recent, I refused to look at, like, pictures of myself before my accident. And I was like, well, I just don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about what I did back then. I don't want to think about how bad of a person I was. But the actual reason why was because I just didn't want to see myself at all. And I don't think that I wanted to accept the fact that that person, that girl, is basically dead. I mean, she's gone. She's never coming back. And no matter how long and hard I look at those pictures, it's not going to bring her back. And I was at a friend's house, and I was with my boyfriend, and we were over there, and we were talking, and I was like, he mentioned, like, MySpace or something, which is so old now. But at the point when I moved to where I was at when I was in my accident, like a couple months before, I was still using it, kind of, and along with Facebook. And I moved most of my pictures over to Facebook. But I started looking. I made the mistake, which is actually, it wasn't really a mistake. It was actually one of the best things I could have ever done. But I looked at those pictures, and the whole time I was there, I was like, oh, it brings back such good memories and whatever. And when I got home, I kept looking. And I guess it was because I was at home and I was comfortable with me and my boyfriend were sitting here, and he was like, why are you still looking at those pictures? And I was like, well, I don't know, I just wanted to look, whatever. And I started really thinking about it, and I just like broke down crying. And he was just like, what are you crying for? And he gave me like the biggest hug, and he made me lay there, and he was like, just make me understand. And the only way that I could explain it was to say it is like mourning someone who has died. And that's kind of how I feel. It might not sound normal, but that's how I feel. I feel like that Amber, previous to June 5th, 2010, she's dead. And after that night, she died. And she's never coming back. So why sit here and think about it and look and be like, oh, well, why can I'll never be that way again, and I'll always feel like I'm, not even close to how pretty I used to be. And I don't know, I guess something about, I don't know, I haven't really talked to a whole lot of people about it, but I feel like being so young and being a girl who's a burn survivor, it's really hard because you have so many expectations of what somebody wants you to be. And when you base so much of your happiness on how you look, like I did, you're just asking for it. I mean, I don't know why I did, but I did. And I guess to a point I still do. So I don't know how long it's going to take me before I can look at those pictures and say, that girl was nowhere near the girl I am now. And she was just ugly. Which I can already say that girl was definitely ugly on the inside. But I still can't say and be 100% truthful and say that I'm prettier now, or I feel prettier now than I did then. Or look at the pictures and say, if I could compare the two, I think that I'm prettier now. Because I can't yet. But that is one of my goals of doing this blog. And it's not for people to tell me that I'm pretty, because I don't really care as far as people telling me, because it doesn't matter how many times somebody tells you that you're pretty or you're beautiful or what you did makes you so much of a prettier person, and it doesn't matter unless you think about that about yourself. So hopefully one day I can say that, and maybe this blog will help me, because I'm thinking that coming out and telling people, especially people that I don't know, I'll get a lot of opinions, maybe some advice on all of this. When I went to the World Burn Congress in, I think it was 2011, I had the best time of my life. I mean, when I walked in, it was just like the most amazing environment I'd ever been in. And I have to credit all the people there that have helped me come as far as I actually have now. But I remember I got a book and I was trying to find it, but I can't find it right now. and it was Alan Breslau's book that he wrote that he sells, and he's the founder of the Phoenix Society and a burn survivor as well. And I got his book, and I bought it, and I took it up to him because I wanted him to sign it, because he wasn't in really good health at the time. I'm not sure how his health is now, but he's really, like, he's older. And I remember going up to him, and I had my pressure garment on my chest, and I had my garments on my arms, and I took a picture with him, and he pulled me, like, really close to him, and he said, "Whatever you do, don't hide your scars." And I was like, I'm not, I have to wear this, whatever. And it's like he saw through what I was doing, and all the way down to he knew I was still hiding. And I was doing this at World Burn. I mean, there's no reason to hide at World Burn. I mean, if any of the places ever, I mean, that should be a place where you should feel comfortable, but I guess I was still kind of hiding at that point. But I still think of that today. I was actually laying in bed thinking about it last night, and he was just so serious. Like, he looked right in my face, and he was like, "Whatever you do, do not hide your scars." And that was something I'll remember for the rest of my life.